Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. We have some very disturbing information that we would like to share with you. Like I've said many times before, it is nonstop in this country and in this world, especially when we are dealing with so-called black people. Now, there is a man by the name of David Stephen Bell who took it upon himself to knock out an 11-year-old black child. He's 51 years old. He's a 51-year-old white man, and he was arrested after punching this child in the face. Now, one thing that I wanted to make mention of before I forget as I go on with this story, a lot of the outlets that are reporting this, they are stating that David Bell was taken into custody and being charged with assault on a female under the age of 12. Now, the reason why I wanted to point that out is because they're making it a point, and several articles that I've seen have said this. Several reports have said that she's a girl under the age of 12. Now, some of the reports are basically stating that she's 11 years old. But the reason why they are saying under the age of 12 versus just saying her age of 11, and this is just my opinion on this, it sounds like they're trying to get that age as high as they possibly can so that for some people they can justify, well, maybe she deserved it. Okay. But when you're saying under the age of 12, why not just state the girl's age? Because they know it sounds horrible to state that a 51-year-old white man has hit an 11-year-old child. They know that that sounds more horrible. And so they're going to just say she's a girl under age 12. Ridiculous. I pay attention to all of these kinds of things when we're dealing with these people. Anyway, I'm going to roll this very short clip and I'll come back and I'll have just a few more words to say about this whole incident. As you can see, it was a very heated situation, seeing this big man. And I want to note, too, that he's over 6 feet tall. So he's tall. He's a very tall man, 250 pounds. And his big behind, as a matter of fact, his jail records, so he has a record, y'all. His jail records say that he is 6'5", 250 pounds. So what possible justification could this big Paul Bunyan looking demon have for striking an 11-year-old girl? Now, we all know how the story would go if we had a big 6'5", tall, 250-pound black man hitting an 11-year-old white girl. All hell would break loose in this country, right? But it's always the other way around, where these cowards think that they can put their hands on our children and that we're supposed to sit back and say, I forgive you and I love you, you big demon. But you see, and I'm sorry, family, these kind of stories get to me. Thank you to Brother Levi for sharing this with me. Many stories are shared with me, and I don't always get a chance to talk about these stories. I just don't. Okay. I wish I was able to be like one brother said, Channel 4 News for the bruise. I just don't have that time. But this one kind of struck me because I think this coward needs to be put on blast on every channel that can possibly cover this story, because they call this the land of the brave. How the heck is this the land of the brave when you have this big Paul Bunyan looking demon, 6'5", 250 pounds, putting his greasy hands on an 11-year-old child? Now, a lot of you will say, well, we don't know what led up to this. We don't know all the details. We don't know all the facts. Oh, my goodness. No, we don't. All I know is that this country is standing true to biblical prophecy. I have to talk about that family, that they would give no regard for the old or the young. Okay? I don't know what those young people were doing there. In my opinion, they shouldn't have been there. When you have a bunch of young people hanging out at malls and stores and things of that nature, and they start getting riled up, it's a recipe for disaster. But that does not justify him putting his big greasy hands on this child. And anyone who can sit back and try to give some type of justification for this, you need to go sit yourself down somewhere. Okay, I already know a lot of people are trying to spin this in their head. This is what usually happens in cases like this. They are trying to spin this in their heads to say, oh, maybe she did this. Maybe if she wouldn't have done that. Maybe if this, that, and the other. It's always some type of spin to try to see how you can justify what a big demon does. But that is what happens when you live in a reprobate nation. That is exactly what happens. But again, we all know that things would have been much different if this was a big, tall, black man, 250 pounds, 6'5", hitting a little white girl in the way that this man did. He knocked this girl down with that punch like he was hitting a dude. Oh, I bet his wife is pretty proud of him. I bet America is pretty proud of him. This is what you call the land of the brave. This is what you call brave, America. This is the type of stuff, and I know not everyone condones this, but there are too many that do, and there are too many who are complicit with this type of nonsense. Too many who are complicit with it. Now, who cares? I mean, they're saying he's a married man, has 2 children, a 20-year-old and a teen daughter. How would you feel if a big black man did that to your children? See, those are not the things that they even care about. They don't even care about those things. They don't consider those things because they know that they live in a country that is going to somehow justify their actions, even if he has to do some time. Even if he has to do some time. It's like he knows that the majority of this country has his back. That's how it works in this country. Many of them have his back. Now, I saw one report that said that he's going to be charged with a misdemeanor. I'm not sure about that at this point because that was only one report, but it would be interesting to know if this is how this plays out to this Mr. Brave man that America considers him to be, a man living in the land of the brave. This is what they call heroes. I remember when the Trayvon Martin incident happened, so many were calling George Zimmerman a hero. That shows you just how sick some of these people are. When I say sick, I don't mean sick as in needing to go to the hospital. I mean their minds are just warped. They are demonically possessed. They are ridiculously sick in their heads. Yes, they are. And a lot of people will look at the fact that you hear the other young people in the background yelling and screaming and all of these things. They'll use that to say, well, he felt threatened because he was surrounded. I can just see all of the stories being spinned every which way but loose. And as this article states, it says, it is not clear what occurred before the video started. That's always the push right there. In my opinion, regardless to what happened before the video started, that big, grown, tall man could have removed himself from that situation before putting his hands on this young woman. Now, I will say this much for those of you who say, well, our young people this, that, and the other. I will say this much. When he pushed her the first time, she should have stayed her little self out of his face. She went charging back up to him. And I think that is a foolish move. It was ignorant. And I'm not going to say that she got what she deserved, like many of you will say. But I will say that shows that our people need to sit our children down and teach them a thing or two. First of all, little girl, you are too small to be running up on some big, tall, giant Paul Bunyan like that. I know you're trying to look cool in front of your friends. You're trying to look like you got your stuff together, but you are no match for a big man like that. And trying to look cool in front of your friends just got you knocked out. Okay, I'm not saying that to be hurtful to the family or to the young lady at all. I'm just saying that we need to understand the environment that we're living in. We cannot afford to make these type of foolish moves. Our young people need to know the truth about the land of the free and the home of the brave. They need to know the truth. Because what she did after he pushed her so violently to the ground, getting back up and charging at him, I'm sorry. That was very, very foolish. But it still does not justify him putting his big, greasy hands on this 11-year-old child. And I know you all want to keep on saying a child under the age of 12, but just call it like it is. Because, again, that's some of your mind manipulation that you like to play, your games that you like to play to try to bump that age up as high as you can so that you all don't have to feel as bad when this story hits nationwide news. Okay, family, I am out. I just wanted to share this story with you, which was shared with me. And the brother who shared it with me, he said he was furious. And brother, yes, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. This country does what the Bible says it would do, that it wouldn't give any regard for the old or the young. This is something we know to be true. We have witnessed this time and time again, but we still need to understand what goes on in this land and act accordingly, teaching our children that they have got to get with the program and go with the flow, understanding what time we are in. Okay, family, with that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.